on Lunalight, a deck that we saw yesterday versus Josh on Mitsurugi, a deck we also saw yesterday.
Yeah. So, looking at another Lunalight. The weekend. I did confirm with George actually after the feature match yesterday. The out to the Liger Dancer was the Magister's Chorizo. So the fusion does have an ability to gain attack and go to 4,000 to attack over the Liger Dancer, with the ability to protect from the Magister's fusion, I believe.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Josh opted not to play a side deck. I believe Mitsurugi have an arc type kind of kaiju.
They do, Woso, yeah, so that is a big one. I'll just actually double check to see if Josh is playing that. So based on the deck list that I'm looking at, I don't currently see a Woso in Josh's list. We do see more consistency cards. We see the Radiant Typhoon Vision, obviously having synergy with the Mitsurugi Prez being a quick play.
Yep. What we're seeing here, yeah, we've seen it before. Lunalight playing its sequence out. Unfortunately, Josh doesn't appear to have any response, so it's going to be really rough for him to try and break apart a board, especially if Liger Dancer is involved.
The other interesting thing regarding Josh's list, looks like he's taking more of a board breaker approach, utilizing cards like Forbidden Droplet and the Fallen and Virtuous as well. His only other main hand traps would be the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Nibiru the Primal Being, as well as Dimension Shifter. It doesn't look like Josh has those available currently, and we do see that one copy of Nibiru the Primal Being accessible through Gallant Granite, which the Mitsurugi deck, does have access to level 4s to make rank 4s, and obviously we have King of the Feral Imps on the forbidden list currently, so Gallant Granite being the next best option.
Yeah, I can see that Josh has 1 monster and 4 spells, so not exactly what he wants to see here, and we can see that John is just able to do anything he wants at this point, going incredibly uncontested.
Yeah, not ideal for Josh in the current situation. I think game 1 may be considered a wash for him at this point, sort of just going with the motions, looking what his opponent can dish out, just in case there maybe is something that he wasn't expecting outside of the Liger Dancer.
Yeah, and they're both also in the 2 losses bracket, so the loser of this will likely be out of contention for making that top cut spot. It's definitely not a way you want to go out in a position where you're just taking on a deck that you can't really beat from the get-go.
Of course, and it's what we discussed yesterday. It's, is Lunalight on the player's radar, right? Like that's always the biggest thing. Can you respect the deck enough to have enough side deck slots or main deck slots for the matchup? And we do see the Dracotail branded really able to accommodate for that with just cards they're already playing. However, Josh's strategy, Mitsurugi, sort of more catered towards the other decks, the VS Canines and the Dracotail brandeds of the world. I don't think it's gonna end up too well because he did find the little variable in his plan, sort of threw it off.
And Baguska, SP, and Liger Dancer is going to make
this
it
is as good as it gets.
challenging.
Best one would be a second copy of the Liger Dancer that we can see in some of these combos, but it looks like John opted for the next best option, which is 3 points of interaction essentially. The Liger Dancer, the SP, and the Baguska cutting off any semblance that Josh can put up to answer the board.
And like with a Lunalight in the top in the X1 bracket and the X2 bracket, it's got quite a good chance at making the top cut and being a deck that people just aren't expecting and likely don't have an answer to.
Yeah, there are people that I think maybe overly respect it. They might have had a bad experience at locals saying, you know what, I want to get rid of that Liger. We'll see, as I mentioned before, we did see in the past branded Dracotail side decking one copy of a light kaiju, which I believe is Jizukiru, or we do have the additional one, sorry, name eludes me currently, but it is accessible with the Branded Fusion and Arthur line. But we did see that fall off as of recent events, because Lunalight's representation wasn't particularly large between the 300th YCS events.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's always something to keep in the back of your mind. Hey, this can happen. This is a matchup that maybe I need to account for.
Right. On other tables, I saw that Nathan Kosk, who we had on yesterday, was playing against Dino this round. And you know, I feel like in Oceania we have this phenomenon where no one reads a single White Forest card until the moment they see themselves get paired against someone like Dino. Do you think that's a part of Dino's success in this tournament?
I mean, I don't think it's the key to his success. Obviously, being a very accomplished player in his own right, as well as, you know, just playing well, right? That's the main thing. That's probably what's getting him there long term. However, it helps when people don't know what your deck does, when people don't know how to side deck or hand trap you in incorrect spots. It definitely increases your win rate, and we can see a similar thing with decks like Lunalight.
Or like even on table 1 with Destin on table,
with DDD,
DDD deck.
And a lot of these decks as well, you do sort of have to throw as many cards at them as early as possible. Otherwise, it sort of snowballs into a point where you can't interact at all. You know, compared to the Draco Tail branded strategy, where you could not activate cards like Ash Blossom, you could not activate cards like Ghost Bell, and then you have the option to use them in the opponent's turn, where they might actually have more value because it's cutting off interaction that they might get to anyway if you throw it at them early. And decks like White Forest and DDD, you don't really have that benefit. You do sort of just have to be like, you know, I have to use this one hand trap in my hand, and I hope it passes their turn. And that can happen. Obviously not in this circumstance. Josh didn't have a hand trap at all. And who's to say even if an Ash Blossom would get him there? I think John's hand was quite good, even into a single hand trap, so...
Yeah, I think that's the power level a lot of decks these days. You need multiple levels of interaction to be able to stop them. All they need is at least 1 or 2 cards to possibly pass, and then it becomes incredibly difficult to come back going second, because now you're also playing with significantly fewer cards.
Well, we can also note, so Josh does have access to playing the pure Mitsurugi strategy. He does have access to Dominus Impulse games 2 and 3, which is a great card in this matchup. It's a card that, you know, I'll just double check. I think John also would be playing, given that it is a, you know, a dark attribute based strategy. So Dominus Impulse has perfect synergy. John is actually also siding it too. So we'll likely see it in both players' decks post side here. And then we see Josh, you know, just having the option for cards like Droll and Lockbird, as well as maybe building a more powerful board. He is siding the Knight Sword Serpent, I assume, for going first. Really just allowing him to access those rank 4s, whether it be Dugaris, the Timeless, or, you know, just Baguska as well is another card that can sort of stifle the Lunalight plan. And we do also have the option to make the Gallant Granite, as I mentioned before, to add the Nibiru, the Primal Being.
Right. And we see Josh here start getting to Manju, Habakiri, and Sasaji. Now with Ritual?
So this Aramasa that he's currently...
That's Sasaji. Manju, isn't it?
Yep, so Manju, yep. So players opting for Manju just with the recent addition of the Habakiri to the Forbidden Limited list. So they want more access to the Mitsurugi names is the big one. So you are seeing more normal summons, and Manju being probably one of the craziest ones to come out of 2004 Invasion of Chaos. You know, it's been around the entire time. We played it in Necros as well, I do remember that. But now it does have the option to add Mitsurugi Ritual, Habakiri, you know, everything. It's basically pre-prep as a normal summon.
Yeah, we can see the Murakumo, a very vital piece in the strategy, being able to either be a negate or force your opponent to expend extra resources to be able to continue to play. It's also flexible in that it can destroy all monsters when it's special summoned, so it has that bit of flexibility. It
can also force very awkward interactions when the game state does get kind of simplified. Maybe John has to throw a bunch of resources into a board already, and the Murakumo can pick apart, you know, 1 or 2 monsters on top of any traps that Josh might set, maybe the Purification. You know, he could be playing Magatama. I'll just quickly confirm that. It is likely, given it is a pure strategy. Now, it does look like Josh opted not to play the Magatama, but just after that has already happened, all of these cards have sort of been exhausted from John's end. Murakumo is able to activate, to negate, and if John doesn't have enough cards in hand, he'll have to let the effect get negated. It essentially turns itself into a negate on field already. And even if John has to discard cards, it can trigger Lunar Light abilities. However, sometimes he might run out of steam, he won't be able to fuse. He does need a couple of extra cards to sort of pair with it to offset that Murakuma on board.
Right, yeah, and we saw Futsu as well. Futsu is also incredibly powerful at just generating advantage for yourself. Being able to just special summon bodies back. SP Little Knight, another point of interaction. Habakiri also has that effect where it reduces your opponent's monster's attack points. And these Mitsurugi ritual monsters actually have really big bodies. Sometimes incredibly difficult to take out by battle.
And even if they are taken out by battle, you do still have the option, as you mentioned before, with the Futsu as well as the Mitsurugi prayers. So the cards can just keep coming back.
Pot of Prosperity. What do you think Josh is trying to look for? Just
I think he's just trying to dig for more interaction. He obviously wouldn't be able to draw with the Prosperity, so finding draw spells like the Radiant Typhoon Vision, probably not great, unless he does opt to take it to search a Mystical Space Typhoon, but obviously taking Follow in and Virtuous is essentially Mystical Space Typhoon, but it turns into another one, and then another one, and it keeps repeating. So we'll see how this goes.
That is one of the most powerful Amber style cards we've seen in quite a while. I think we're going to see a lot with the Fallen and Virtuous.
Yeah, we've seen it in every deck. We're seeing it in the Lunar Light deck from John as well.
We're going to see it for months to come. I wouldn't be surprised if it was placed on the Forbidden Limited list at some stage to just, I suppose, less over-centralized deck building. Like, you don't want people to just throw in when they can't think of any better cards. You want a bit more diversity, ideally.
Essentially, but it is limiting to decks that maybe synergize better, or decks that don't really utilize the extra deck. So we have seen it in the Radiant Typhoon deck, obviously a Pot of Extravagance deck, so it does have that sort of flexibility in terms of including those cards. It is still quite limiting in the deck building aspect. I do agree, as time does go on, when you do have fusion-centric strategies or strategies that aren't utilizing the extra deck, this card can most likely become a problem because of how strong it is. But as of right now, I think it's in a good place. It is, quite good in the branded Dracotel strategy, but we're just seeing it in these other decks sort of to just give it a little power buff, where they maybe wouldn't normally have a card as strong. It's generic enough.
Yep, for sure.
So we see
Sean
Gold Leo
play,
adding Yellow Martin, and I believe he did add Yellow Martin and then discarded it for the Gold Leo, and then the Yellow Martin adding the Lunar Light Fusion. Absolutely game-breaking right now. Lunar Light Fusion now having the benefit, as we do have an extra deck monster on the field, I believe. Josh could blink out the SP Little Knight. I'll just quickly confirm the Lunar Light Fusion effect for the people at home. So this card, alongside the heavy polymerization, can cause some concern for the player going first, just because it does allow for these extra tricks for the Lunar Light deck, just giving you the ability to get out a large fusion quite quickly.
Yep, and yeah, so because SP Little Knight.
So Josh identifying, how can we sort of offset how good this Lunar Light Fusion is, banishing the SP Little Knight, as well as the material on the field in the form of the Gold Leo as well. With John having to fuse from hand. Not great value here. Summoning the Perfume Dancer.
The Perfume Dancer is already incredibly powerful. Being able to add that perfume to the hand. Being able to recycle some of your Lunar Light cards and give you a special summon. So
yep, especially with cards like Collider Chick.
Yep.
It also gives you additional points of access as well. Collider Chick could potentially dump a name from certain spots, be bounced back, get value from Tiger. We can bounce back Tiger. We can do a range of things with the Lunar Light cards. He also still has the Yellow Martin in his graveyard as well. And we're looking at the Yellow Martin being added. I believe he fused with... Sorry, can't quite see that anymore.
Gold Leo.
Okay, it looks like fused with a Black Sheep as well as another card. So we see the Collider Chick coming out as well. Silverhound. So he did fuse with a Silverhound as well. So Silverhound effect triggering to summon a Kaleido Chick from the deck. And then we see Josh knowing, okay, this effect isn't on summon. Let's try and deal with it as soon as we can. But we do know John does have that Lunalight Perfume in hand that he did add off the Perfume Dancer, now with the option to summon it back. Could we see maybe the Murakumo leaving the field by tribute, summoning itself back? Potentially wiping the board here? John is kind of light on cards, not amazing, so we do see Mitsurugi Prayers tributing the Murakumo. Will Josh go for the slightly greedier play, maybe opting to not play around a Bystial or otherwise?
Obviously the Kusanagi gets summoned.
Yep, so triggering the Murakumo to cut off anything like Ghost Spell or Ash Blossom, as Murakumo does also add and special. So putting the Mitsurugi Mirror as Chain Link 3, I believe.
Yep, so we do see the effect to destroy John's field. Oh, there we see the heavy polymerization.
Yep, this is quite good here. If Josh does have Purification available, I think now would be the time to activate it. Oh, we see Dominus Impulse. Okay, just as good.
There's a Silverhound.
And then we see Purification on the Silverhound. So Josh identifying, hey, this is a sequencing I have to have.
Yep.
Because of the Silverhound in the graveyard for John there.
And now Futsu will also trigger.
Yep. That's the other thing as well. Josh just, treating his deck like a well-oiled machine, sort of recycling cards to make sure he still has cards to search where he can, as well as, having backup for the following turn. Regardless of if John ends on Liger or not, just having all of that follow-up to guarantee and secure your position, it's a telltale signs of a very experienced and well-rounded player, I think. So we see Perfume adding the Lunalight Tiger, I do believe. That was a card in 2019, I think, when we were playing these Lunalight Orcus decks. That was a big problem card, and we did see it on the Forbidden list at some point, but now it is back. Just helping this deck move forward.
Now with the Tiger and 2 cards, what he has access to. Futsu still hasn't been activated as a special summon, is that correct?
Yeah, I don't believe so. But there could be a chance, maybe Josh opting to get value out of his Mitsurugi cards from their tributing effects, and then potentially having a Droll and Lockbird in hand. The Impulse was activated from the field, something that, usually you don't like setting unless you do have a hand trap in hand that does have, the mixed attribute that you wouldn't normally be able to activate.
Appears they might be in the middle of clarifying something, both players.
Yeah, so potentially just double checking, making sure the game state is, on the up and up. Do you think this game is favored from John, just based on what we're looking at, with no information on what's in Josh's hand? Do you think that there's anything, based on the deck list that we've seen as well, that could really, solve this for Josh now?
I think Josh's board looks intimidating, but it depends how John navigates through this with the remaining cards in his hand. If he can manage to get to a Liger Dancer, everything changes.
Well, even maybe something like Baguska as well, because that could give him turns to draw into more cards, more options to play out the heavy polymerization potentially on the following turn.
But even then, he would get a second copy of the Fallen of the Virtuous.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is
would
true.
Be able to clear
we see Nibiru the Primal Being. But did Josh make a Gallant Granite?
He did not.
I don't believe so. He did have access to multiple bodies. Nibiru here is quite good. It is interesting to note that Josh opted to utilize some effects first, not getting the value after they would have been tributed by the Nibiru here, but he did get to add the Mitsurugi Prayers to sort of just get back into the game on the following turn, and that Habakiri can still summon itself back as well.
Yeah, and it's on another note, that Nibiru token must be incredibly big with
Yeah,
all
if
three
Josh
of
doesn't
them.
deal with that,
Huh?
it's all over, I think.
Again, well, again, he still gets the additional copy of the Fallen and the Virtuous.
Yeah, it looks like Josh didn't activate the Kusanagi off the Mitsurugi prayers off the initial summon, opting to wait, knowing that he had that Nibiru and he'd be able to trigger it at a later point as well. So adding back the Aramasa from the Kusanagi, and then the Habakiri summoning back as well, just to, you know, really gain that follow-up, as we mentioned before, just to close the game out, adding a second copy of Murakumo.
Yeah. John, now it's an open game state now. John will be able to proceed with his plays.
He does still have the Lunalight Tiger available, not once per turn either, but not sure where he can really go with this from here.
Played wonderfully on Josh's end.
Yeah, I think Josh really had the foresight. He knew when he wanted to put that Nibiru on board, also opting to set the Dominus Impulse as well. So it's usually the telltale sign that something crazy might be coming down when that card is set on the field. So we'll see where this goes for John.
Yep, we see the Tiger again. Summoning back the Kaleido Chick.
And John's also just playing at such a nice pace. You know, he definitely seems like someone that's really put a lot of effort into testing his strategy and just knowing where he wants to go at any given point.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it looks like just confirming the cards that were added this turn. So I do believe that's every card known in Josh's hand as well. So John just has to navigate, you know, pretty much everything face up.
What are his options at this stage?
Nope, taking the concession here.
Yep. Got a healthy 28 minutes to go. They did start a tad bit later than the players in the main event, so if you do hear an announcement for time, just note that these players are playing with a bit more time.
Yep, and just based on the deck list that we are looking at, I think it is likely that we'll see Josh putting in probably every hand trap he has available. That'll be the Mulchami Fualos in his side deck, alongside likely the Perilia and the Droll and Lockbird. Just, you know, trying to find a way to stop John from getting to anything too crazy, just something manageable for the Mitsurugi cards, right? Because they don't line up too well into a Liga Dancer on board. As I mentioned before, preventative is usually the best measure in this matchup, because board breakers don't really work too well into a card that is unaffected, and as we don't see Woso in Josh's deck either, so...
It's always scary going second into a Lunalight deck. It's also scary going first into them as well, but slightly less so.
Yeah, if you're able to have cards like Impulse and the Mitsurugi or Great Purification, those cards can cut off the heavy polys, the Lunalight fusions of the world, and you can sort of get away with a little bit more, but you do still have to draw them. Josh's deck does play a good chunk of draw power though, which is always nice. Pot of Extravagance, Pot of Prosperity, Radiant Typhoon Vision. Obviously not going to help too much going second, because he does still have to prevent John from making a board, but you know, going first, Josh's deck is quite well rounded. And we saw that in game 2 as well. When he did go first, he just played out his board. It's quite good.
Exactly.
And then for John, we do see the copies of Triple Tactics Thrust as well as Talons.
Those are great cards.
Those are great, yep, with the copy of the Black Goat Laughs as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so being able to set that one if Josh is able to stop him from playing. And then, you know, flipping Black Goat Laughs on Mitsurugi Ritual, perhaps calling Mitsurugi Murakumo. There are ways around it. You can use cards... I mean, it's quite difficult. Roundabout way to do it, but we'll probably see those Dominus Impulses still in John's deck as well. Just anything to offset, I guess, the Mulchamis or any hand traps from stopping John.
Yeah. Just need to note that we have 4 more rounds and 2 undefeated still, so... Well,
it's anyone's game.
Yeah, with the way it pans out, it's still like, and there's definitely no one already locked into the top cut, and there won't be for another 2 rounds maybe. So
yep.
I think all the players are vying very hard. Like in the past, you would have people who would to day 2 and then they would write themselves off. But you know, at this stage, anyone can still top, and
Yep.
anyone X2 and higher can still top. So
It's always good, you know. You are playing for that day 2 pack as well.
Yep.
For the top 128, you are playing for the card trooper. You're
Yep.
playing for the effect veiler, so it's not all in vain.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know, even if you don't have a record that could necessarily make top 8, you can still walk away with some amazing prizing. And as we did mention, I was talking with Dom, one of our undefeated players, as well as Destin, our other undefeated player, and I said, job's not done yet. You know, you do still have to win out some of these rounds today to make that top cut, which is, it keeps you on your toes, right? As you mentioned before, some people can get complacent with a locked-in top cut record going into day 2, but this keeps you on the entire time. You're playing every game, and every game does matter, which is always good.
And we know that while they play, they keep up their momentum, they keep up their game.
Of course.
People who had a topping record, they might get lazy, they might get overconfident.
Yeah, it's always the best way to prepare for an event is to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And while in an event, you're preparing for the following rounds by playing more Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's always good, especially when it matters, because you're playing at your best. You know you have to have a good outcome here.
Yeah, that's when there was a giant card on the Friday, I was speaking to Josh Hull, who unfortunately lost in the finals. He mentioned that one of the biggest reasons why he felt like he lost in the finals was he had the bye in the top 4 and he lost his momentum after coming off a really big game in top 8. So yeah, as you said, playing Yu-Gi-Oh will keep up the mindset.
So it looks like John elected to go second game 3.
That's incredible. That's a very high risk option.
Well, maybe John, you know, had some insight on maybe what Josh was playing, knowing that Josh would put in all of his hand traps when he would go first. When he goes second. So if John makes him start, Josh just has a bunch of Molchamis that he can't activate. You know, or he can, but once again, a roundabout way to do it. He'd have to activate copies of Mitsurugi Prayers. He would have to remove cards from the field and not commit as many of these really, really good cards that his deck can access so freely.
Yeah, and again, we would think that Lunar Light being a deck which can actually play very well going second might find this less of a risk, but a lot of other decks might not want to take that risk where your opponent might just draw the correct cards. Like sometimes you have people who draw are going first hand while they're going second, or vice versa,
and you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. That's always the worst part. Because the Mitsurugi deck, even without a bunch of these silly cards like the Molchamis, you know, sort of clogging up your hand, you can just play off one card.
Yeah.
One Habakiri does it all, and Josh is playing, you know, access to Habakiri times 10, essentially.
What I do find interesting is that Josh actually still has a copy of the Great Purification in his deck in a situation where he likely should have assumed he was going second.
There could be a chance that he might not have had enough cards to take out. That is a big one, especially just noting, you know, there are some cards that aren't that amazing into this matchup when you are going second. So maybe just opting to have the Mitsurugi name as an option to search on the following turn without going too low on that monster count, just to still be able to activate the Mitsurugi ritual monster effects.
Yeah, yeah. Josh has 6 cards in hand, 3 spells, and it appears to be 3 monsters. I do believe he had the Purification he searched, or I'd seen a Purification at some stage.
John already does have cards in his graveyard, so just looks like we did miss. It looks like a Charmy was activated, so most likely a Molchami Perilia, with the Murakumo activating, and then John did discard the Emerald Bird to allow the Perilia to be able to resolve. So still netting cards here, just digging deeper into the deck to find these board breaker cards. You know, we do have in John's deck, in terms of cards that can break the board, we don't really have any spell and trap removal. We're really limited to the Fallen and the Virtuous, alongside cards like Forbidden Droplet, Heavy Polymerization being the key players here. John opting to side cards like Spiritualism instead.
He's starting off his turn with the Masquerade. He's going straight offense.
Yep, so Lunalight Masquerade able to basically access most of the deck here, just acting like a Foolish Burial. And then we see the Yellow Martin activating as well, adding a copy of Lunalight Fusion.
Yep, but at this stage, Josh doesn't have a monster summon from the extra deck.
Yeah, it might just be as simple as John wanting to just have access to the Lunalight fusion just to even fuse normally with,
Yep.
right? And then having the Yellow Martin access is able to bounce back the Masquerade. He could have Lunalight Tiger and then use the ability and then add it back. We do have the Emerald Bird in the graveyard as well. So, you know, John is not missing any of the combo pieces, and he drew into extra cards to sort of offset that too. So basically started his turn with a bunch of combo pieces already in the graveyard. So we see the Tiger coming down as well.
This Lunalight deck is incredibly scary, Josh. Should hope that he has enough ways to start, or at least survive until his turn. I think I saw an effect Baylor in Josh. Was that an effect Baylor?
I will double check. I don't believe it is in his main deck. Or side deck, actually. So likely might have just been a slight miss. Could be the Nibiru, the Primal Being. But yeah, likely Molchamis would be in his deck, because he would have assumed that he'd be going second, so...
Yeah, so we see the Prez Tribute Murakumo. Murakumo will then again be able to special summon itself and clear the board.
Yep, and then we do have Josh opting to get the extra value here. It's a matchup where his opponent will either do the crazy thing that his deck aims to do, so why not go for the value where you can, triggering the Saji as well as the Murakumo.
Yeah. Yeah, adds the ritual spell.
Yeah, both ritual spells from the looks of it. So it's another copy of Ritual as well as Mirror here.
John still has like 5 cards in his hand. Yep, Futsu summons back the Kusanagi, I believe. Gonna add back the Habakiri.
Yep, I think Josh is sort of just going with the motions at this point. You know, sort of just trying to identify, hey, what can I do? What do we achieve here?
Looking at
the Tiger King? Tiger King would be a great one. Tenki can access Fractal into the Silverhound, into an additional body here that'll get him to the Kaleido Chick, or even the Gold Leo. Also does have the option to negate the Futsu on field as well. Yep.
He has seen the Fallen the Virtuous last game. That's also a potential out to the Tenki.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but...
But I guess we know the set card is Purification, right?
Yeah. I from memory, I thought I'd seen a Purification.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, he's activating Spec to negate the Futsu. And for all monsters with fewer attack, right?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, it's been a while. I used to love playing Fire King sorry, not Fire King, Fire Fist back in the day. However, it sort of escaped me in terms of the additional effects. I do just know it is able to negate. Full criteria has eluded me currently. But we'll see where John can go from here. I think the Futsu may be a non-issue. You know, why not use the Tiger King effect to deny some extra value from Josh in case you can't close the game out? Maybe have to go down the Baguska route. It's easily outed by Dynamundo, so I think just trying to offset what Josh can do on the following turn if you can't close this game out now.
Yeah. You were a Fire-Faced person, I was always a Mermail. I thought that
yeah. It's quite funny. I feel like you were playing Dragon Ruler a lot of the time when I saw you. Or that one Evil Swarm foray that you had, but... we all make mistakes.
In the 2014 era, I think I was definitely a Mermail fan. Actually, Nathan Koskin, the play interview, I'd asked him if he knew the Teus Gun?
Teus Dragoon?
Teus Dragoons, yeah, the Teus Dragoons combo. Do you know it?
With Abyss Osha?
Yeah.
And then you make your guy... Yeah, no, I remember that one. Right, that one's drilled into my brain.
About 16 minutes left on the clock. We are approaching time. I don't think we'll need the full 16 minutes at this stage, but it's definitely something that's creeping up behind both players.
John could opt to summon Jagaris the Timeless, maybe try to redraw into some additional cards that'll help him play out this turn. But if he doesn't, you know, he could already have the game secured, sort of just rolling with the motions. He knows what his deck does, opting to play the Poly here. That'll turn the Masquerade online as well, giving the chance for the Wolf to make, you know, just a bigger fusion later on as well.
Yep. So, Josh, thinking about his response at this stage. No, that polymerization will connect. You see the Perfume Dancer, that will add a copy of Lunalight Perfume.
Yep, yep. Could Josh just be waiting for an opportune Nibiru? That could be likely here.
Yeah, we saw how powerful that was in the previous game. Josh just has 6 cards in hand. It's a lot of cards.
We do know 2 of them are, yeah, so just having a look at what cards he knows, these are the cards that were added this turn, so 3 of them are just Mitsurugi cards, unable to actually do anything outside of Josh's turn. Murakumo, yep, so we would have had a Murakumo add from the prayers, I believe.
This Lunar Knight deck has so much gas.
Yep, it just keeps going and keeps going. You know, this Collider Chick not being once per turn, it creates some funny game states to look at. Yep, so going for the Perfume, discarding the Lunar Light Fusion that John did search at the beginning of the turn. Josh just trying to identify what is going on here.
Yep, believe. Yeah, he was just revealing the cards that were known on his end as well.
Yep, so Josh allowing that. However, I do believe the Silverhound was accessed already and is now online because the Collider Chick did send a fusion to the grave. And we are now just waiting to see if that last set card that Josh has can do anything here. Unlikely through the Silverhound now.
Now we see the Great Purification. There is the Silverhound. Now we finally get to the Liger Dancer.
I think this might be it for Josh here.
Yeah, the Liger Dancer still being able to clear the board as well.
Yep, so maybe John just trying to see, can I close the game out now? Or do I have the option to let Josh roll back a turn as well?
Tiger King is 22 plus the 100, I believe.
Yeah, should be.
2300 and the Liger Dancer is 38.
So we're a little bit short, not by a wide margin. Also, we do have Josh paying for the Mitsurugi prayers as well, so he has taken that 800 points of damage too.
Currently a 6100 power.
Okay, nope, we're seeing an additional Liger Dancer coming down from the looks of it, and that should be it. We see John taking down game 3 here, just letting the pleasantries go through. I think Josh sees the writing on the wall here. Yep, and that is it. All over. GG's. Congratulations to John. Tough luck there to Josh. A matchup that I'm sure he wasn't too prepared for based on what we had seen. And John, I think, you know, he does have that foresight. He knows what he wants to do going into the match, opting to let Josh start game 3. Something that, you know, a lot of other Lunalight players might not do.
Yeah, Josh, he's still in contention for an Effect Veiler or a Card Trooper. A lot of the other prizes. I mean, you've come this far. You've played 10 rounds.
Of
Why not
course.
play the last 3, right?
Exactly.
And
And that's why I like the new prizing structure as well. Sort of incentivizes you to like stay in the tournament. The
Yep.
amount of times I think I made day 2, and I'm 7 wins, 2 losses, and then I lose another round, and it's like, well, why would I stay in the main event? There's nothing else I can really gain from here. I could just go play the public events.
Yep.
But now it incentivizes you to play the entire main tournament, which is always great.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we will look to get John on stream for a quick players interview, see how he feels, what his game plan is for the next 3 rounds, and just how his day 1 went. And then we will find an interesting matchup for round 11. I think players have been asking for that DDD deck.
Yep.
Might be time.
Yeah, could be time. We could see how Destin is going. We could have an undefeated DDD deck.
Yeah, that is entirely possible. Or just in the top cut would already be.
Yeah, it's an relative rogue deck in the current format, and I think it is catching people off guard, similar to the White Forest strategy as we talked about before. Just sort of creating these games where it's like, I'm making mistakes because I don't really know what the cards do, or you might just have a situation like Josh where you don't have enough hand traps to compensate for these sort of explosive combo decks that are really underrepresented in the current format. So Dom Italiano is on Radiant Typhoon. Yep. Yeah, Dom testing with last year's YCS champion Frederick Camel, actually, and Freddy is also still in contention, I believe. So we do have Freddy at a 8-1 record going into this round. We'll catch up, see how he's doing, but I believe they're both playing the same deck list as well. So we could see another situation where they both make top cut. Could one of them take out the championship this year?
This match interview, so we will catch you shortly.
When they say left, I'm like, who? I'm like, I'm All right, so we're here with our round 9 feature match winner. Sorry, our round 10 feature match winner,
Round
actually.
10, yeah.
And we have John. John,
Yes.
congratulations.
Thank
How
you
were
very
you
much.
feeling going into the feature match?
I was feeling terrified the second I saw a Mitsurugi card activated.
That's fair.
My only 2 losses yesterday were, in fact, to pure Mitsurugi.
Did you expect pure Mitsurugi going into this event?
No, not at all.
Not as much as some of the other decks, right? Just based on
No.
what we've seen from some of the events that came
Oh,
up the last few weekends, yeah?
for sure, yeah. I was much more expecting the branded Drake-tail, the K9, all that.
And we could see that sort of in your deck list as well. We didn't see anything, you know, too focused on a lot of the more rogue matchups. You do have a more board breaker-esque approach. Is there anything that, you know, maybe you wish you would have changed after your experience yesterday?
Look, I think the main deck, the side deck, absolutely perfect. Not a thing I would change. The only thing that I would change is my copy of Cat Dancer in the extra deck should be a third copy of Perfume Dancer. And that cost me my match against Mitsurugi yesterday.
Good to identify that. But hopefully it doesn't stifle the rest of your performance because you were doing great in those games. So hopefully that doesn't matter too much.
I am feeling pretty happy.
Good,
Yeah.
good. And then just regarding, we did have a quick chat about this before we did come into the booth today. So letting Josh start games 3. So you did say you had a bit of PTSD regarding the Mitsurugi matchup, and you were scared of the Woso.
Yes, definitely the Woso. Kaijus are the mortal enemy of Tower
And they have a searchable Kaiju. This is
Yes, definitely. It does make it quite complicated.
That's fair, that's fair. No, I mean, it worked out well for you.
It
Josh
did.
had a bunch of, you know, Molchamis in his deck. They didn't really do too much. We thought it was maybe to offset when, you know, these decks are sort of putting in 10 to 12 hand traps against you.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are just the Molchamis. We saw you had a Molchami as well, and it worked quite well. You got to get the Emerald Bird into the graveyard immediately off the Murakumo effect and draw a few extra cards, and you were just set up for the turn. This was perfect.
I was. A very good start, I would say.
And you had the Silverhound set up as well to beat the Purification. Josh, I did have a chat with him before saying, you know, slight oversight with the Purification. He probably should have activated it a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
so
I was expecting it to be ripped quite a bit earlier in the
immediately,
turn.
maybe.
Yeah.
Were there any hand traps that you were worried about maybe going into that game 3? You did see a Nibiru game 2, but I think you were kind of, you know, at a point where the Nibiru didn't matter after the Tiger had resolved enough times.
In that game, not Nibiru, I was obviously very scared of any dimensional shifter if he had it when he opened the turn.
Always a scary card. Yeah.
Impulse again,
Impulse
that
up.
really hurt. Impulse plus trap in the second game. But I'm just glad he didn't draw it.
It's fair, it's fair. No, it's good, but you're still in it to win it. We have you at 8-2 now.
Yes.
So only a few more and you can make that top 8 cut. Are you feeling good going into the last few rounds?
Oh, hey, I wasn't optimistic going into this tournament, but I'm very glad I'm panning out how I am.
You're doing good, you're doing good. Well, John, we do have to get back to the next round. Is there anything you'd like to say for the viewers at home?
So shout out to the Hobart Yu-Gi-Oh community group, Tasmania represent. Also shout out to the Biscotto Patreon. He's got some very good Lunalight ideas. Also shout out to specifically Royal Van Dyke, Alina Gray, and the Lunalight Discord for believing in me.
Oh, always good. Well, John, good luck for the next rounds.
Thanks very
Congratulations
much.
on your win.
Thanks again.
All right.